come right back at you with another one and have none other than TAYTOWN Tayski, man. TAYTOWN Tayski. TAYTOWN Tayski. And I would be remiss if I didn't say rest in peace to TAYTOWN Tayski. Alright, with that out the way, man, if you have not done so, hit that subscribe button. Thumb up this video as it gets my video out to new subscribers and potential viewers, and that is imperative for the growth of my channel. I appreciate you rocking out with me and keeping this channel pushing and moving up and trending in the right direction. You guys motivate me to keep this going. All right, enough of that. We're jumping right into this. This first document we have is an original case incident report, and this is for a battery aggravated handgun. The date of this occurrence was July 6, 2011, 18:22 hours. We have a parent guardian for the individual, was a female black, age 42. We have a victim, is redacted, but a male black, age 15 years of age. And we have the victim for whom this incident report is a Devontae Childress, and his demographics would be male black, age 18. All right, and we have injuries, injury info for the redacted victim. CFD first aid was given, yes. Injury extent, serious. All right, injury info for Devontae Childress. Injury extent was serious. The hospital, St. Bernard. All right, the type of injury is a gunshot. The weapon used, handgun. All right, and getting down to the narrative here. In summary, responding officers responded to a person shot at listed address. Upon arrival, responding officers spoke with redacted victim, who related that a gold Cadillac drove up and an occupant fired multiple rounds in their direction. The car fled southbound on Normal. Redacted victim related that Devontae Childress, victim, was driven to St. Bernard's Hospital in a pickup truck. Redacted victim was taken by Ambulance 36 to Comer's Hospital, where he was listed in stable condition per Dr. Pike, with 3 gunshot wounds to his left leg. His redacted female 142 on scene at Comer's. BT 712 relocated to St. Bernard's and confirmed Devontae Childress, the victim, was being treated for multiple gunshot wounds and was in critical condition per Dr. McCormick. Responding officers spoke to redacted male 120 at St. Bernard's, who related he drove the truck listed with Devontae Childress, victim, in the back bed. Devontae Childress, the victim, was stabilized and taken by ATI ambulance to Stroger Hospital, where he remained in critical condition per Dr. Joseph. Victims given, VIN on scene. All right, and these are the notified officers. And we will skip down to the next document we have is a case supplementary report document for the aggravated battery handgun. This is the date of occurrence is a July 6, 2011. 1822. The date that it was submitted, this document was submitted, was July 6, 2011, 23:57 hours. This is a field investigation method CAU code report. Victims, Childress Devontae, male black, 18. Suspects, unknown. Victims' injuries, serious, which we know, and we will scroll down to an investigation if there is one. All right, I believe that was the end of that document. We're getting down to a second incident report. This may be a duplicate of the other, so we'll scroll past this. Yep, this is a duplicate, so we'll scroll past this one. All right, and we have the progress violence scene report, and this is for the battery aggravated handgun, and this is the date this was submitted was July 9th, 2011, 21:04 hours. And we see the victim is a Devontae Childress. And it seems we have another victim listed here, male black, 15. We have potentially the other victim here. All right. Other individuals involved, seems to be a parent. Okay, this is an Area 1 field investigation report. So we're at an investigation here. And we have the location of occurrence. We have the victim listed as a Devontae Childress, male 118. All right. And we have another male 115. We have gang affiliation, Childress gangster disciple, Barnes claims none. Injuries: Childress, gunshot wound, upper right arm, upper left leg, and right groin. Barnes, gunshot wounds 3 times to the left leg. Transported to Childress, was transported to St. Bernard's Hospital, then transported to Stroger Hospital. Barnes transported to Comer's Children's Hospital by CFD number 36. They were treated by doctors, and seems Barnes was in stable condition and Childress was in critical condition. The weather and lighting at the time of the homicide was hot, clear, natural lighting. Wanted, 3 male ones in FI. Gang affiliation unknown. Vehicle used, number 1, gold-colored 4-door car, Cadillac or Buick LeSabre, used by offenders. Number 2, silver Dodge pickup truck, used by Garrett to drive Childress to the hospital. Weapon unknown, make, model, .40 caliber gun, not recovered. We have witnesses, a male 20, a female 18. We have some individuals to be interviewed here that is redacted. We have family members notified as well, and evidence listed, some cartridge casings, and some blood swabs from the sidewalk. We have an investigation here. Reporting detectives was assigned 2 persons shot at 6101 South Normal by Sergeant Hill of this command. Reporting detectives responded to the scene and found the area of this incident to be residential. In addition, there are numerous abandoned houses and vacant lots. Reporting detectives observed yellow crime scene tape quartering off the intersection of 61st and Normal and the sidewalk on the northeast corner and southeast corner of 61st and Normal. Reporting detectives examined the scene and discovered 740 cal shell casings in the street at 61st and Normal and 540 caliber shell casings on the sidewalk of northeast corner of 61st and Normal. At 6101 South Normal is a 3-story brick residential building. Reporting detectives observed 2 pools of blood on the sidewalk on the southeast corner on the north side of 6101 South Normal. Reporting detectives met with officers on beat 711. Officers related that the victims were on the southeast corner of 61st and Normal when a vehicle drove by and started shooting, striking 2 of the victims. Officers related that the victim Barnes was transported to Comer's Children's Hospital in stable condition. Officers related that Childress was driven to St. Bernard's Hospital by Calvin Garrett in a pickup truck in critical condition. Childress was later transferred to Stroger Hospital. E.T. Earls responded to scene and took close-up and overall photos of the scene. E.T. recovered 12 .40 caliber expended shell casings from the scene. E.T. Earls then relocated to St. Bernard's Hospital and photographed and processed the Dodge pickup truck used to transport the victim Childress to the hospital. Reporting detectives relocated to Stroger Hospital. Reporting detectives learned that Childress had sustained a gunshot wound to the right upper arm, gunshot wounds to the left leg, and a gunshot wound to the right groin. Childress was taken into surgery. Reporting detectives were unable to interview her, the victim. Dr. Joseph stated that Childress was in critical condition. Reporting detectives relocated to Comer's Children's Hospital. Reporting detectives spoke with redacted regarding the shooting. This is a summary of the statement and should not be considered a verbatim. Redacted we have is a canvas document, and this is a canvas of the homicide that the detectives will do. This is a field investigation canvas report. The date that this was submitted was July 14th, 2011, 22:30 hours. All right, we know the victims. 1, Devontae Childress. All right, suspects unknown currently. All right, we have motive undetermined. And this would be a drive-by shooting. Other individuals involved. Okay. This is we are at an investigation. After learning that the victim Childress died from his injuries, reporting detectives recanvassed the area, and they have it redacted. They spoke with, it seems, various individuals. So we'll start with this individual, a male 144. Stated he was sitting on the porch and heard 8 or 9 shots. Redacted stated that 3 or 4 minutes before the shooting, he saw a pickup truck pull up and the person inside was talking with the people on the southeast corner of 61st and Normal. Redacted stated that he heard shots and saw a male 1 with a white t-shirt and dark pants or shorts with a gun in his hand. Redacted stated that it looked like he was shooting down at the people on the corner. Redacted stated that he could not make out faces. All right, then we have a redaction block. A female 119, no phone, stated that no one was home at the time of the incident. Woodard stated that no one has been at the building since her boyfriend got shot there about a week ago. Interviews, male 116. Redacted stated in essence but not verbatim that he met his brother, redacted, and cousin, redacted, at the library at 62nd and Normal. Redacted stated that he was going to Candy House on 60th and Normal, but stopped at 61st and Normal to talk to Tay. Redacted stated that a tan/silver four-door Cadillac was driving south on Normal. Redacted stated that the Cadillac had two people sitting in the front and one guy slouched in the back. Redacted stated that the guy in the back pulled a black gun, and shot out of the driver's side rear window approximately 20 times. Redacted stated that he recognized the driver as a guy named Marlon, and the shooter in the back was a male 120 to 25 with a low haircut, white t-shirt, and a little chubby. Redacted stated that he couldn't identify the front passenger. Redacted stated that he ran onto the porch of 6101 South Normal when the shooting started and the car drove toward 63rd and that it had Cadillac rims. Barnes stated that he received a small wound to his right hand during the incident. Reporting detectives observed a wound between the thumb and forefinger. Redacted didn't seek medical attention. We have another male 1 interview statement. We have Redacted stated in essence, but not verbatim, that he was stopped at the corner of 61st and Normal in his truck. Redacted stated that he saw Redacted walking on Normal and said hello. Redacted stated that Childress continued walking south on Normal past a group of BDs on the corner. Redacted stated that a newer gold-colored Cadillac DTS drives south on Normal. Redacted stated that he saw the rear seat driver's side passenger point a black gun from the window and begin shooting at the crowd on the corner as Childress passes by them. Redacted stated that it looked like the shooter was spraying the crowd. Redacted stated that he saw Childress get hit near the hip and go down screaming. Redacted stated that he had slid down in the seat of his truck when the shooting started. Redacted stated that the BDs on the corner returned fire, hitting the Cadillac back window and rear left tire. Redacted stated that he and a BD named T picked up the victim and put him in the bed of the truck and that they drove Childress to St. Bernard's Hospital. Redacted stated that he couldn't see the occupants of the Cadillac, but that two of them had on white t-shirts. To be interviewed, Redacted. All right, we have a reclassification case supplementary report, and this battery was reclassified to a homicide and a first-degree murder, 0110 IUCR code. The date that this was submitted was July 14, 2011. This is a field investigation reclassify report. All right, and we'll get down to the investigation where they outline. This is an Area 1 field investigation. The report is to be read in conjunction with all other reports under this RD number. Reporting detectives were assigned an aggravated battery on July 6, 2011. On July 8, 2011, reporting detectives were notified that victim, Devontae Childress, expired from his injuries. This investigation will reclassify as a homicide. All right. We have cause of death here, multiple gunshot wounds. This is an ongoing investigation. Getting down to a next document we have here is a case supplementary report. This is a morgue report for the homicide and first-degree murder. Date this was submitted, July 23, 2011, 08:37 hours. Getting down to an investigation. Dr. Holmes performed an autopsy on the remains of Devontae Childress and determined the cause and manner of death to be multiple gunshot wounds / homicide. External examination. Gunshot wound number 1, enter mid-back of left thigh, exit mid-front of left thigh. Gunshot wound number 2, enter mid-upper back of right thigh, exit upper mid-front of right thigh. The next document we have here is a case supplementary report progress lineup document, and this document was submitted on September 5th, 2011 at 22:09 hours. All right, and we're getting down to an investigation where we learn more about this progress, the lineup, photo lineup. All right, this is an Area 1 lineup supplementary report. All right, and we have individuals participating, present at the photo array. And we have a redacted individual, age 15, female 18, male 16, female 139, mother. Right? Persons viewing lineup, redacted. Persons participating in the lineup are all redacted except for one, Boyce Marlon, and he is listed in slot number 2. Persons identified, Marlon Boyce identified by, redacted. Marlon Boyce identified by, redacted. No identification by, Kenyatta Barnes. History and investigation. During this investigation, reporting detectives learned that redacted recognized the driver of the vehicle that shot and killed Devontae Childress and injured redacted. Both of the redacted stated that they thought the driver's name was Marlon. Based on their information, reporting detectives assembled a computer-generated photo with possible suspects. All the suspects were the same general description. On July 8, 2011, reporting detectives met with redacted and their redacted at their apartment. Reporting detectives explained that they would be looking at a photo array and then separated them. Reporting detectives had redacted read and sign the photo spread advisory form. Reporting detectives then displayed a photo array and redacted immediately identified Marlon Boyce as the driver of the vehicle that had shot and killed Childress. Redacted indicated this by signing his name to the photo of Marlon Boyce. Reporting detectives then met with redacted. Reporting detectives had redacted and signed the photo spread advisory form. Reporting detectives then displayed a photo array. Redacted immediately identified Marlon Boyce as the person that shot Michael Barnes and Devontae Childress. Redacted indicated this by signing his name to the photo of Marlon Boyce. Reporting detectives then met with redacted Barnes. Reporting detectives had redacted read and sign a photo spread advisory form. Reporting detectives then displayed the photo array. Redacted unable to make an identification. Photo spreads, lineup advisory forms, and demographics were inventoried under inventory number listed. All right, the next document we have is a progress report. This is a case supplementary report, and this was submitted on September 8th, 2011 at 10:44, 100 hours. All right. We are at an investigation, and we have victims listed with gang affiliation, Childress, gangster disciple, and redacted claims none. Injuries, we are aware. Vehicle used, we are aware. Manner and motive, they list drive-by. We have witnesses, a BD gang member, aka Buddha, male 120. We have a female 118. We have some interviewed individuals, to be interviewed individuals. We have an investigation. On July 9, 2011, reporting detectives were assigned to follow up the homicide/aggravated battery that occurred on July 6, 2011. The investigation was initiated by Detective Rivalry and Detective Casale of the 3rd Watch and was initially classified as an aggravated battery in which 2 victims were shot in the vicinity of 61st and Normal. Reporting detectives learned that one of the victims, Childress, of the aggravated battery succumbed to his injuries. The 3rd Watch requested that reporting detectives attempt to locate redacted. The alleged target of the shooting, redacted, a supposed 3rd victim that was shot at the time but had left the scene prior to the police arrival, and to contact the family of Childress in an attempt to locate redacted, the person that drove Childress to St. Bernard's Hospital. Reporting detectives learned that Detective Rivalry and Detective Casale had developed suspects, created a photo array, and asked that the photo array be shown to any potential witnesses that reporting detectives could locate. Reporting detectives attempted to contact redacted at the phone number provided and left several messages instructing him to contact reporting detectives in order to interview and possibly show photo arrays with potential suspects. As of the time of this report, redacted has not contacted reporting detectives. Efforts to locate redacted at his residence were negative. Reporting detectives then attempted to contact redacted by phone and learned that his phone did not accept incoming calls. Reporting detectives relocated to redacted's given address redacted and verified that he lived at that location by the name on the mailbox. Reporting detectives received no response at the door and left a business card with instructions to contact reporting detectives as soon as possible. It should be noted that redacted was at Stroger Hospital on July 7, 2011, complaining that he was shot at redacted, and that Detective Wilborn of the 1st Watch was assigned to follow up investigation. Detective Wilborn related that after speaking with doctors at Stroger Hospital, Detective Wilborn learned that redacted showed no signs of a gunshot wound to the heel of his foot and that the injury appeared to be minute razor-type cuts. Detective Wilburn also related that redacted had already been discharged at the time that he arrived to the hospital. Detective Wilburn related that he attempted to locate Redacted at his home address, but met with negative results. Reporting detectives contacted Gary Childress, the father of the deceased victim, and learned that Calvin Redacted lived in the Redacted block of West Redacted Place. Reporting detectives conducted a computer check and determined that Redacted lived there at 463 West Redacted. Reporting detectives relocated to Redacted and located Redacted, who related the following in essence but not verbatim. Redacted related that he was friends with the victim, Devontae Childress, and that on the day of the shooting, he was driving past the corner of 61st and Normal at the time of the shooting. Redacted related that he was driving his pickup truck and saw Childress walking southbound on Normal near 61st Street and said hello. Redacted related that Redacted continued to walk southbound past a group of BDs, Black disciples, that were standing on the corner when a newer gold-colored Cadillac DTS drove southbound on Normal. Redacted related that he saw the rear driver's side window roll down and that someone pointed a black gun from the window and began to shoot into the crowd of BDs at the corner as Childress was walking past. Redacted related that he saw Childress get shot in the hip and went down screaming. Redacted stated that at the time the shooting started, he slid down in the seat of his truck to avoid being shot at, but was able to see that the BDs returned fire and hit the Cadillac in the back window and left rear tire as it drove southbound on Normal and out of his view. Redacted related that he heard at least 20 gunshots. Redacted related that he and a BD that he only knows by the nickname of T picked up Childress and put him in the bed of a pickup truck and drove Childress to St. Bernard's Hospital. Reporting detectives inquired Redacted knew anyone of the other BDs on the corner at the time of the shooting, or if Redacted was able to see any of the occupants of the Cadillac. Redacted related that he was unable to see the occupants of the Cadillac, but was able to see that there were at least 2 occupants wearing white t-shirts, and added that only guy on the corner that he knew was T. Based on Redacted's statement that he was unable to see the offenders, the photo array of potential suspects was not shown to him. This is an in-progress investigation. All right, the next document we have is another progress report, and this one was submitted on September 12, 2011 at 22:56 hours. We'll get down into an investigation. Reporting detectives have made several attempts to interview witness Redacted. On two occasions, Redacted made an appointment with reporting detectives to bring her daughter to Area 1 for an interview and to view photo arrays. On both occasions, Redacted showed up. Both mother and daughter will not return messages left by reporting detectives. Based on the positive photo array under this RD number of one of the 3 offenders in the vehicle that shot and killed Devontae Childress and wounded Redacted, reporting detectives has issued investigative alert number for Marlon Boyce. Boyce was identified as the offender that was driving the vehicle while the other offenders shot victims. Reporting detective is still working to determine the identities of the 2 other offenders in that vehicle. At the time of this report, reporting detectives has not received any results from the Illinois State Crime Lab with the results of any evidence recovered from the crime scene. All right, the next document is a progress report document, and this was submitted on May 28, 2012 at 09:10 hours. Okay, let's get to an investigation here. All right, we have an interviewed individual, cooperating individual inside the Cook County Jail. All right, previously listed as to be interviewed. So this was an individual that was going to be interviewed prior. I guess he is incarcerated now, or at that time. We have an investigation. In furtherance of this investigation into the shooting death of Devontae Childress, which occurred on July 6, 2011 at Redacted South Normal, the reporting detectives were contacted by Police Officer Jimmy Vins of the Cook County Jail Enforcement Detail. Police Officer Vins indicated that the above cooperating individual had information pertinent to the above homicide. All previously submitted reports should be read before reviewing this report. Cooperating individual. The reporting detectives introduced themselves, and the CI stated that he wished to talk about his current case in Cook County. The reporting detectives explained that they could not talk about his case with them. The confidential informant stated that he understood and still wished to cooperate. The confidential informant stated that on the day of the homicide, he had just left Redacted and several other BDs on the corner of 61st and Normal when he heard numerous shots being fired. The confidential informant stated that he dropped to the ground, and when he looked up, he observed a gold-colored vehicle, possible a Cadillac, driving at a high rate of speed southbound on Normal. The CI stated that because the car was driving so fast, he was unable to see who the occupants of the car were or how many people were in the vehicle. When asked how many shots he heard being fired, the CI stated at least 15 or 20. The CI continued by stating that he ran back to the corner of 61st and Normal, and it was at that point he realized that Redacted along with Redacted had been shot. The CI stated that there were still several people standing on the corner and that he would be able to identify these individuals if shown photographs. The CI could add nothing further at this time, so the interview was concluded. On April 24, 2012, the reporting detective returned to the jail and the CI viewed numerous clear-generated photos. The CI positively identified Redacted as one of the subjects that was standing on the corner of 61st and Normal when he walked by shortly before the homicide. The interview was then concluded. Armed with this information, the reporting detectives attempted to locate Redacted. Failing in this, Redacted was issued on May 28, 2012. Additionally, all reasonable attempts have been made to interview Redacted, also to no avail. Redacted was issued for Redacted on the 28th of May, 2012. In reviewing the evidence that was submitted, the reporting detectives learned that. All right, we have an investigation. This is a Detective Bureau South progress report. List the victim. It lists two fired cartridge cases. In furtherance of this investigation into the shooting death of Devontae Childress, which occurred on July 6, 2011 at 6101 South Normal, the reporting detective received an IBIS case-to-case association hit from the Illinois State Police Crime Lab. This case-to-case association is from evidence recovered at the scene of the above-listed homicides. The report indicates that fired .40 caliber Smith & Wesson cartridge were fired from the same firearm. A copy of the forensic scientist Mark Palmer's report will be made part of this permanent investigative file. This investigation remains in progress. We have another progress lineup document. This was submitted November 12, 2014 at 10:25 hours. And now we have an offender listed as a one Reynolds Antoine. So male, he would be a male, black, 28 years, 5'9", 200 pounds, black hair, short hairstyle, brown eyes. All right. Item used, weapon. All right. Let's scroll down to an investigation. All right. We have a person's viewing lineup, a redacted Garrett. Persons participating in lineup, we have 5 individuals. Number 4 is not redacted. The rest are redacted. Number 4 is listed as a one Reynolds Antoine or Anton. Number 9, we have persons identified in lineup. Position number 4, Reynolds Anton. Investigation. On the date of October 3rd, 2014, cold case detectives asked Redacted if he would relocate into Area South Detective Division in order to view a lineup regarding the homicide of Devontae Childress, which occurred at 6101 South Normal Avenue and is recorded under RD number listed. Subsequently, Redacted came into Area South Detective Division and viewed a lineup. Upon viewing the lineup, Redacted positively identified Antoine Reynolds as a person that fatally shot the victim, Devontae Childress, on July 6, 2011. Next document we have is a progress report. This date this was submitted was March 5th, 2015, 09:05 hours. We have a additional suspect listed now, a one Boyce Marlon, male, black, 27 years of age, 5 feet 8, 160 pounds, black hair, short hairstyle, brown eyes, medium complexion. And we have offender Reynolds Antoine, who was in custody at that time. All right, and we have his description: a 5 feet 9, 200 pound, black hair, short hairstyle, brown eyes. All right, we're scrolling down to an investigation. Okay. We know the injuries listed. Okay, we have an investigation here. Cold case detectives learned that a witness named Redacted was in the custody of Cook County Jail and had been arrested on a separate incident unrelated to the homicide of Devontae Childress. Redacted was subsequently brought into Area South Detective Division and interviewed relative to the homicide of Devontae Childress, which occurred on July 6, 2011 at the location of 6101 South Normal Street and recorded under RD number listed. At this time, detectives informed Terry that other witnesses related he was on the scene when Devontae Childress was killed. Redacted told cold case detectives he was indeed out on the block on 61st and Normal Street when Devontae Childress was shot and killed. Cold case detectives then asked Redacted to relate what he observed occur on the date of July 6, 2011 at approximately 1822 hours. Redacted informed the detectives he was walking towards the corner of 61st and Normal when he observed the victim, Devontae Childress, and several other guys and girls standing around talking to each other. Redacted stated he suddenly looked over across the street and saw a champagne golden-colored Cadillac pull up to the stop sign and slowly drift into the intersection. Redacted informed the detectives he recognized the driver of the champagne golden-colored Cadillac. Cold case detectives asked Redacted if he could identify this individual in a photo array. Redacted related he would be able to identify this individual. Redacted was then given a Chicago Police Department advisory form to read and sign. Redacted read and signed the advisory form and was then shown a photo array. Upon viewing the photo array, Redacted positively identified Marlon Boyce as the driver of the champagne golden Cadillac who pulled out an automatic handgun and began to shoot. It should be noted that the photo array that was shown and signed by Redacted was inventoried under Chicago Police Department inventory number listed. Redacted also related that the rear seat driver's side passenger pulled out what appeared to be a machine gun and began shooting too. Redacted the cold case detectives that everyone on 61st and Normal ran to avoid getting killed. Redacted stated that both individuals were shooting in the direction where he and the other people were standing on the corner of 61st and Normal Avenue. Detectives asked Redacted what he did when the shooting started. Redacted told detectives he heard a lot of shots being fired as he tried to run away. Redacted stated he looked back and observed the victim, Devontae Childress, fall to the ground. Cold case detectives asked Redacted what else he observed on that date. Redacted told the detectives he didn't just see the shooting occur, he also knew both shooters because he has lived in the area for a long time and has known them for a long time as well. Detectives asked Redacted to describe in more detail who he saw shoot the victim, Devontae Childress. Redacted gang related that the driver of the champagne golden light colored Cadillac, who was shooting a handgun out of the driver's side window was Marlon Boyce. Redacted added that the rear driver's side passenger, who was shooting a machine gun, was Antonio Reynolds. Detectives utilized the iClear system and were able to obtain a Chicago police arrest photograph for Antonio Reynolds. Detectives showed Redacted the photograph since he stated he had known Antonio Reynolds for a long time. Redacted subsequently identified Antonio Reynolds as the second individual who he saw shoot Devontae Childress on July 6, 2011. Cold case detectives asked Redacted if he would testify in front of the grand jury and state the facts as he related to detectives regarding the homicide of Devontae Childress. Redacted agreed to relocate to 2650 South California Avenue to give a grand jury statement. On the date of July 30th, 2014, Redacted testified before a Cook County grand jury regarding his knowledge relative to the homicide of Devontae Childress and the aggravated battery of Redacted. Cold case detectives were able to obtain contact information for Redacted from Redacted. Detectives then relocated to Redacted and spoke to Redacted mother and subsequently to Redacted via telephone because he told detectives he was out of town. Cold case detectives asked Redacted if he was present during the shooting of Redacted and Devontae Childress. Redacted told the detectives that he was coming out of his house when he suddenly heard numerous shots being fired. Redacted related he looked down the block towards 61st and Normal Street and observed people that were on the corner of 61st and Normal Street running away towards his direction. Redacted stated he got down until the shots stopped and immediately ran to the corner of 61st and Normal. Redacted informed the detectives that as he was running towards 61st and Normal, he heard Redacted yelling, I'm shot, and then observed Devontae Childress on the ground. He also observed multiple individuals trying to put Devontae Childress in the back of a pickup truck. Redacted related he stayed there for a little while and then went home presuming there might be more shooting in the area. Detectives asked Redacted if he saw the vehicle or any of the occupants that were responsible for the shooting of both victims. Redacted stated that he did not see anyone or any vehicle involved in the shooting of the victims. Redacted related he heard the shots but was not on the corner of 61st and Normal when the shots were fired. The interview with Redacted terminated at this time. In continuation of this investigation, cold case detectives located Redacted and conducted an interview with her relative to the homicide of Devontae Childress and aggravated battery of Redacted. Informed the detectives that she was talking with her Redacted on the corner of 61st and Normal Avenue on the date of July 6, 2011. Redacted stated that she was talking to her cousins. She had her back to the middle of the street when she suddenly heard numerous gunshots being fired. She told the detectives she immediately ran to the rear of the building that was on the corner of 61st and Normal Avenue. Redacted stated that she kept running until the shot stopped. Then she came back and noticed that Redacted was shot in the leg. Detectives asked her if she knew that Devontae Childress was killed at the time of the shooting. At the time the shooting occurred, Redacted related she did not know that Devontae Childress was dead until Redacted came back to the location of 61st Street and Normal Avenue. Cold case detectives asked Brianna if she observed any of the individuals that shot her. Redacted, Devontae Childress. Redacted told detectives that she did not because she never looked towards the street prior to the shooting and also did not look back until the shots stopped. The interview with Redacted ended at this time. Next document we have is a progress report. This was submitted on March 8, 2015. This is a field investigation progress report. We have victims listed and suspects listed as one Marlon Boyce. We'll get down to an investigation. We have the injury information that we know. This is an interview for a male 120. On the date of December 2nd, 2013, cold case detectives Oscar Ortega spoke with retired detective Edward Carroll in the Area South Detective Division regarding a case which he had previously been assigned by retired Lieutenant Thomas Keene of the Cold Case Squad. Retired Detective Carroll informed cold case detective Ortega of the facts relative to this homicide of Devontae Childress, which occurred on July 6, 2011 at the location of 6101 South Normal Street, Cook County, Chicago, Illinois. Detective Ortega agreed to request the case be reassigned to him. Upon approval by his immediate supervisor, cold case detective Ortega requested all pertinent reports related to the homicide of Devontae Childress. On the date of December 3rd, Detective Ortega learned that one of the witnesses who needed to be interviewed by the Chicago Police Department detectives was incarcerated in the Cook County Jail for an unrelated incident. Detective Ortega then requested to writ Terrell Barnes to Area South Detective Division to conduct an interview relative to the homicide of Devontae Childress. Terrell Barnes was subsequently transported to Area South Detective Division. Once at Area South Detective Division, Detective Ortega interviewed Terrell Barnes regarding his knowledge of the homicide of Devontae Childress, which was recorded under RD number listed. Detective informed Terrell Barnes that he was being interviewed as a witness. Terrell stated that he did not mind being interviewed because one of the individuals who were shot the day Devontae Childress was killed was his brother, Michael Barnes. Cold case detective Ortega asked Redacted if he was on the scene when the homicide occurred. Redacted related he was indeed on the scene and witnessed all of the events that occurred on the date of July 6, 2011. Redacted stated that he, his brother, and his sister did not live in the area where the homicide occurred any longer because they recently moved to Redacted, but they were in the area of 61st and Normal Street that day because they were visiting their grandmother who still lives in the area. Redacted further related he, his brother, and his sister walked towards the corner of 61st Street to talk to some of the people they haven't seen since they moved out of the area. Redacted informed the detective that he was talking to the victim on the corner of 61st Street when he observed a gold-like colored Cadillac driving slowly towards the stop sign, which was on the corner of 61st Street and Normal. Redacted stated the gold-like colored Cadillac was occupied by two individuals, a driver and a rear driver's side passenger. Redacted told Detective Ortega that as the gold-like Cadillac approached the middle of the intersection, the driver and the rear driver's side passenger began to shoot at him and numerous other people that were standing on or near the corner of 61st and Normal Street. Redacted added that as he observed the rear driver's side passenger shooting what appeared to be a large assault rifle, and the driver of the vehicle was shooting a handgun. Redacted related he saw the victim, Devontae Childress, fall to the ground. Redacted informed the detective that when the shooting stopped, he looked up and saw the victim, Devontae Childress, on the ground. Redacted yelled at the victim, but he was unresponsive. Redacted also stated he and a couple of the other guys put the victim in the back of Calvin Garrett's pickup truck and drove him to St. Bernard's Hospital. Redacted related he immediately returned to the scene of the shooting and was subsequently informed that his brother was also shot in the leg and was transported to Stroger Hospital. Redacted then ran to the victim's family's house to inform them that Devontae Childress was shot. Detective asked Redacted if he was able to recognize any of the individuals in the gold-like colored Cadillac. Redacted related that the Cadillac drove slowly through the stop sign and stopped in the middle of the intersection. He observed an individual he did indeed recognize. Cold case detective asked Redacted he could identify this individual in a photo array. Redacted stated he would be able to identify the individual he saw driving the vehicle. Detective Ortega then asked Redacted if he was able to see the rear driver's side passenger during the incident. Redacted told Detective he saw the rear driver's side passenger, but he did not recognize him. Redacted the shooting occurred. Redacted was subsequently shown a Chicago Police Department photo and positively identified Marlon Boyce as the individual who was driving the gold light-colored Cadillac and fatally shot the victim, Devontae Childress, on July 6, 2011 at the location of 6101 South Normal Street, Chicago, Illinois. Cold case detective then asked Redacted he would go and state the facts relative to the homicide of Devontae Childress to the grand jury. Redacted agreed and gave a grand jury statement on December 27, 2013. All right, the next document we have is a progress report. This is a field investigation progress report that was submitted on March 12, 2015 at 10:37 hours. All right. And we'll be scrolling down to an investigation. Okay. On December 26, 2013, cold case detectives interviewed Redacted at Area South Detective Division. Detectives asked Redacted if she was present when the homicide of Devontae Childress occurred on July 6, 2011. Redacted stated that she was indeed present when the homicide occurred. Cold case detectives also asked Redacted if she spoke with detectives regarding what she saw occur at 6101 South Normal Street. Redacted informed the cold case detectives that she briefly spoke with the original assigned detectives back in July of 2011. Redacted related she did not speak to the original assigned detectives regarding all the details she had observed, but she was scared and traumatized of what just had happened, what she had just witnessed, excuse me. Redacted stated she had just seen her, Redacted, in the leg and someone get killed. Redacted related that she still sees that night in her head, so she tries to block it out as much as she can. Cold case detectives asked her if this is the reason that she told the detectives back in July of 2011 that she really didn't see the individuals that were responsible for the death of Devontae Childress. Redacted stated that when the shooting occurred, she was afraid that her other Redacted will also be victims of the individuals who shot her brother and killed their friend Devontae Childress. Cold case detectives asked her to forget the past and that it was time that the truth is documented regarding what she knew occurred on July 6, 2011 at the address of 6101 South Normal Street. Redacted related that she did not live in the area any longer, but she was in the area of 61st and Normal Street visiting her grandmother along with her brother, Redacted, and a friend she knows as Redacted. Redacted stated she had summer school during the day at Robinson High School. Redacted related that when she arrived on the block of 61st Street and Normal Street, she observes her brother and Redacted, the victim, Devontae Childress, talking on the corner along with a couple of other people. Detectives asked Redacted how long she had known the victim, Devontae Childress. Redacted told the detective that she had known him since she was in the 6th grade. Redacted informed the detectives that the victim left for a short while and changed his clothes, but returned and continued to talk to her brother, Redacted. At this time, cold case detectives noticed that Redacted was getting emotional as she continued to speak with the detectives. Detectives told her to take a few minutes, and if she wanted her mother or someone else present with her at this time, it would be fine. Redacted told cold case detectives she wanted to continue with the interview. Redacted related she observed a pickup truck at the stop sign, and suddenly a car pulled behind Redacted. somewhat to the side of it and slowly drift into the middle of the intersection. Redacted stated that the pickup truck was not involved in the shooting at all. Redacted stated that the car that drifted into the intersection was a gold Cadillac. Redacted also related that the driver and the rear driver's side passenger of the gold Cadillac began shooting at them. Detectives asked her who these individuals were shooting at specifically. Redacted stated that they were shooting at all the people standing on the corner of 61st and Normal Street. Detectives asked Redacted how many people did she observe in the gold Cadillac. Redacted stated that she believed that there were 3 individuals in the gold Cadillac, but she only saw the driver and the rear driver's side passenger shooting in the direction of the people in the corner. Redacted related that after the shooting started, Redacted attempted to run to the back of the building, but as they started running, she heard her brother yell, "I'm shot, I'm shot." Redacted related that after the shooting stopped, she went to the hospital with her. Redacted. Cold case detectives asked Kenyatta when she was informed that Devontae Childress had been killed. Kenyatta stated she was at the hospital with her brother when a female Chicago police detective told her that Devontae Childress had died. If she would be able to recognize any of the individuals that were involved in the homicide of the Devontae Childress. Redacted informed the detectives that she would be able to identify the driver of the gold Cadillac who was shooting at her and the other people standing on the corner of 61st and Normal Street. At this time, after reading and signing a Chicago Police Department advisory form, cold case detectives showed Redacted Barnes a photo array. Redacted positively identified Marlon Boyce as the driver and the shooter who fatally shot the victim Devontae Childress on July 6, 2011 at 6101 Normal Street. Cold case detectives asked Redacted if she would attend a grand jury and relate all the facts regarding the homicide of Devontae Childress. It should be noted that on December 30th, 2013, Redacted attended the grand jury at 2600 South California, Chicago, Illinois, Cook County. On December 26, 2013, cold case detectives also interviewed Redacted in Area South Detective Division. Detectives asked Redacted he recalled the events that occurred on July 6, 2011 at the location of 6101 South Normal Street. Redacted told the detectives that he definitely recalled everything that occurred the day he got shot in the leg. Detectives then asked Redacted if he could tell them in detail what occurred that day. Redacted related he was at summer school at Paul Robeson High School during the morning hours of July 6, 2011. Redacted continued and told the detectives later that afternoon he and Redacted went to the area of 61st Street and Normal to visit their grandmother who still lives in the area. Redacted stated that when he arrived at 61st and Normal Street, he observed his Redacted and the victim Devontae Childress standing on the corner talking with each other. He then approached them and began to talk to them. Detectives asked Redacted long he had known the victim, Devontae Childress. Redacted told detectives he had known the victim since they were in elementary school. Detectives asked Redacted if anyone else was near the corner while they were talking. Redacted that his sister and his cousin, Redacted, were also on the corner of 61st and Normal Street. Redacted added that the victim, Devontae Childress, left the corner while they were talking to go into the house to change his clothes, but was only gone approximately half an hour. Redacted stated they were talking for approximately an hour when he observed a car slowly pull up to the middle of the intersection. Detectives asked Redacted if he knew what model or type of car pulled up to the intersection. Redacted related he did not know much about the different car models, so he didn't know what kind of car it was. Redacted informed the cold case detectives that it seemed very odd that the car was driving slowly and suddenly stopped in the intersection. Redacted stated that as began to walk down 61st Street, he looked back and saw the driver and the rear driver's side passengers shooting at them. Redacted also stated that he suddenly felt pain to his leg and noticed that he was shot. He stated he began to yell to his sister that he was shot. Cold case detectives asked Redacted he could recognize any individuals that were shooting at him. Redacted stated he focused on the driver of the car and did not really get a good look at the rear driver's side passenger. Detectives asked Redacted he saw what type of gun these individuals were shooting. Redacted related that the driver of the car was shooting a handgun and the rear driver's side passenger was shooting a machine gun. Detectives asked Redacted where he went after he was shot. Redacted stated he went towards the back of the building where he fell to the ground. Redacted told the detectives he was yelling, "I'm shot, I'm shot." Redacted also informed the detectives that someone called the ambulance and he was subsequently taken to the hospital. Redacted related he was informed by people at the hospital that his brother was not shot but went to the hospital with Devontae Childress. He also stated he was subsequently told that Devontae Childress had died from being shot. Cold case detectives asked Michael if he had any problems with any individuals in the area. Redacted told the detectives he did not have any problems with any people at all, because at the time he was only 15 years old. At this time, Cold case detectives showed Michael Barnes a photo array in Area South Detective Division. Redacted looked at the photo and positively identified Marlon Boyce as the driver of the car and the individual that shot him on July 6, 2011 at 6101 South Normal. It should be noted that on December 30th, 2013, Redacted relocated to 2600 South California and gave a grand jury statement regarding the facts of the homicide of Devontae Childress. Continuing this investigation, on the date of January 28, 2014, cold case detectives located Redacted, the location of Redacted. At this time, detectives informed Redacted that they were revisiting the homicide of Devontae Childress, which occurred on July 6, 2011 at the location of 6101 South Normal Street. Redacted acknowledged that he was present when the Redacted and that the victim, Devontae Childress, was his friend. Cold case detectives asked Redacted relocated into Area South Detective Division to continue the interview and possibly look at a photo array relative to the homicide. Redacted agreed to relocate into Area South Detective Division. Once at Area South Detective Division, detectives asked Redacted to relate the facts as he observed on the date his friend Devontae Childress was killed. Redacted at the cold case detectives and acknowledged that he did not tell the original detectives all the facts because he knew one of the offenders involved in the homicide of his friend Devontae Childress, and he thought this individual might have seen him at the scene of this incident. Redacted, he was afraid of someone coming by and shooting at his house while his two brothers, sisters, mom, and father were home, since one of the offenders that he saw shoot the victim lived right around the block from where he lives. Redacted also stated to the detective, that he saw the same individual a couple days after the Redacted occurred. Redacted that when he saw him, he was riding on a bicycle near his house. Redacted added that as this individual rode past him, he lifted his shirt and displayed a handgun. Detectives informed Redacted needed to be truthful regarding the facts relative to his friend's murder. Redacted again looked directly at the cold case detectives and related he would definitely tell all the facts that occurred that day. At this time, Redacted stated he and his brother were driving his father's pickup in the area of 61st Street and Normal Street. Redacted saw some friends standing on the corner. Redacted stated he saw Devontae Childress, standing on the corner, so he stopped to talk to him. Calvin told the detectives he pulled up to the curb facing westbound and was about to talk to someone else he knew when he observed a gold-like colored Cadillac pull up to the stop sign next to him. Redacted related that the gold-like colored Cadillac drove up next to his vehicle and slid through the stop sign, driving slowly. Redacted stated he continued to look at the gold-like Cadillac as it drove by him while he was sitting in his father's pickup truck. Redacted related that as the gold-like Cadillac slowly entered the middle of the intersection, the rear driver's side passenger reached out and began to shoot an assault-like rifle in the direction of the people standing on the corner of 61st Street and Normal Street. Redacted then stated that the driver of the gold-like Cadillac also began to shoot a handgun at the people standing on the same corner. Redacted the detectives he got down slightly, but since it was happening Redacted in front of him, he was able to get a good look at what happened to his friend Devontae Childress. Redacted related he observed Devontae Childress get hit and fall to the ground. Redacted stated after the shooting stopped, he and his brother drove up to the victim, and then he, his brother, and Terrell Barnes put the victim in the rear of the pickup and drove him to St. Bernard's Hospital. Cold case detectives asked Calvin if he would look up to a photo array in order to identify the occupants of the gold-like Cadillac who drove past him and fatally shot the victim Devontae Childress on July 6, 2011. Redacted did indeed agree to view the photo array. Upon looking at the photo array, Calvin Garrett positively identified Marlon Boyce as the driver of the gold-like Cadillac and one of the two individuals that killed Devontae Childress. Detectives asked Redacted if he could also identify the rear driver's side passenger who he also stated shot at the victims at the location of 6101 South Normal Street. Calvin related he saw him, but he did not know him, so he could not tell the cold case detectives who he was. Cold case detective asked him if he would be willing to look at a photo array or lineup in the future if the detectives were able to identify the rear driver's side passenger who was also shooting at the victims. Redacted was subsequently asked to attend a grand jury and related the facts regarding the homicide of Devontae Childress. Redacted indeed attend the grand jury on January 30th, 2014. It should be noted that the photo arrays shown to Redacted were inventoried with the Chicago Police Department under inventory number listed, and photo array shown to Redacted was also inventoried with the Chicago Police Department under inventory number listed. All right, next document we have is a clear close arrest and prosecution document, and this was submitted on March 16th, 2015. All right, and we'll get down to an investigation. We have some individuals. We have some gang affiliations for a one Antoine Reynolds, Mickey Cobra. We have manner of motive, gunshot wounds, retaliation for offender's vehicle being damaged by fire. We have some evidence listed here. A lot of witnesses. We have an investigation. In continuation of this investigation, on the date of October 2nd, 2014, cold case detectives, along with the U.S. Marshals / Great Lakes Regional Fugitive Apprehension Unit and the Illinois State Police Task Force, relocated to Illinois State Parole offices located at 8000 South Cottage Grove Avenue in an attempt to apprehend Antoine Reynolds, who after the positive identifications and the grand jury statements given by witnesses redacted, identifying him as one of the two individuals who shot redacted in the leg and also fatally shot Devontae Childress at the location of 6101 South Normal Avenue on July 6, 2011. Cold case detectives spoke with Officer Cotton of the Illinois State Parole Section. Detectives then informed Officer Cotton that during their investigation, they had received information that Antoine Reynolds told his family members that he was not going back to the penitentiary again, and he was not going to let them take him so easy. Detectives also learned that Reynolds also stated he had something for the police if they ever came for him. He was going to shoot the police. Due to this information that was collected regarding Reynolds confronting the police if they came to apprehend him in the future, detectives asked Officer Cotton if the detectives, along with the assisting police personnel, could apprehend Antoine Reynolds when he came to check in with him regarding his parole status. Officer Cotton agreed because of the circumstances surrounding Reynolds' animosity against the police. Cold case detectives, along with the U.S. Marshals / Great Lakes Regional Fugitive Apprehension Unit and the Illinois State Police Task Force, waited at the Illinois State Parole Office for Reynolds to arrive for his scheduled status visit. On October 2nd, 2014, at 10:05 hours, Antoine Reynolds was apprehended and subsequently transported by the U.S. Marshals / Great Lakes Regional Fugitive Apprehension Unit and the Illinois State Police Task Force to Area South Detective Division. Once at Area South Detective Division, Antoine Reynolds was placed in the interview room and the ERI videotape was activated. Cold case detectives subsequently entered the interview room and read Antoine Reynolds his Miranda rights per pre-printed FOP book. Reynolds related he understood his Miranda rights and decided to speak with the detectives. At this time, Reynolds was informed that he was arrested relative to the homicide of Devontae Childress. Cold case detectives asked Reynolds if he had any knowledge of the homicide or any information regarding the events that occurred on July 6, 2011 at the location of 6101 South Normal. Reynolds stated that he knew the area of 61st and Normal because he grew up near there. Reynolds also stated there were different gangs in the area of 61st and Normal Avenue. Detective Ortega asked Reynolds if he knew Marlon Boyce. Reynolds related Marlon has a baby with his sister. Detective Ortega then told Reynolds that the people were saying he and Marlon were close because of the situation involving his sister. Reynolds stated he and Marlon were not close at all. Reynolds related his sister Lexi was shot and her little boy named Travis was also shot and killed in November 2012. Reynolds also said that his sister has 2 kids with Marlon. Reynolds continued and stated that his sister was shot in retaliation for Marlon shooting that boy, Devontae Childress. Detectives asked Reynolds if he would look at a photo array and identify the individual he knows as Marlon Boyce. Reynolds agreed to look at a photo array. Reynolds was then given a Chicago Police Department advisory form to read and sign before he was administered the photo array. Reynolds then looked at the photo array and identified Marlon Boyce in the photo and signed on top of the photo, which he identified. Reynolds related that he doesn't know what happened the night he was not with Marlon at all. Reynolds stated he doesn't remember where he was, but he was not there at the time of the shooting. Reynolds stated he did hear it was possible a robbery. Reynolds informed Detective Ortega his sister told him that she had heard Marlon did the shooting. Reynolds again stated that he does not mess with that dude, Marlon Boyce, and doesn't really know him well. Reynolds related that he did sell drugs around the area but does not associate with Marlon. Reynolds stated he did not have handguns for his protection, but he never shot one. He did have handguns for his protection, but he never shot one. At this time, Detective Ortega left the interview room. Detective Ortega returns to the interview room and reread Reynolds his Miranda rights once again. Reynolds stated he didn't know why anyone would involve him in any way with the shooting. Reynolds asks Detective Ortega if he can get a lawyer appointed to him. Detective Ortega then tells Reynolds a lawyer will be appointed to him when he gets to court. Reynolds tells the detective that he knows how the system works. Detective Ortega tells Reynolds they are done talking, but lineups will be conducted soon. During the course of the lineup being conducted, Reynolds asks Detective Ortega if he can use the restroom and would like something to drink. Subsequently, Detective Ortega re-enters the interview room to escort Reynolds to the restroom, and without asking Reynolds anything, Reynolds stated, "Those people didn't pick me out of that lineup, and if they did, they are lying because he never fucked with dude." Reynolds continued to state that he doesn't know who did it. Reynolds told the detective that his sister is afraid to go outside because the GDs think Marlon shot the guy on 61st and Normal Street. Reynolds related his sister learned about Marlon doing the shooting on Facebook. Reynolds related he would not take the fall for Marlon because Marlon knows the truth. Reynolds stated he is innocent. Reynolds informed the detective he really doesn't recall anything because in 2011 he was hustling and smoking a lot of weed with codeine. Detective Ortega exited the room at this time. Detective Ortega subsequently re-entered the interview room and reread Reynolds his Miranda rights. Reynolds told the detective, he understood his rights that were read to him. Detectives informed Reynolds that he had been identified in a lineup and placed on the scene with Marlon Boyce on the day of the shooting occurred. Reynolds asked the detectives if he was charged. Detective stated he was not charged. Reynolds told the detective he did not know how someone would pick him out of a lineup because his appearance has changed dramatically due to the weight gain. Cold Case Detective told Reynolds that he was identified by his face. Reynolds continued to deny any involvement in the homicide on Devontae Childress and any relationship with Marlon Boyce. Reynolds also asked for his rights to be read again so he can fully understand them. Read Reynolds each of his Miranda rights again. After explaining each right to Reynolds in detail, the interview was terminated. Details of this interview with Reynolds were recorded under BR video, numbers listed. On October 4, 2014, Cold Case Detectives contacted the Assistant State's Attorney's Office. Cold Case Detectives spoke with ASA Thomas regarding the previous interviews. Photo array and lineup identification of Antoine Reynolds made by Redacted relative to the aggravated battery of Redacted and the homicide of Devontae Childress. ASA was also provided with copies of the police reports and other current statements relative to this case. Upon reviewing the complete all report, Assistant State's Attorneys Thomas Boyce related that the charge of aggravated battery and first-degree murder would be lodged against Antoine Reynolds. In continuance of this investigation and the previous interviews conducted with witnesses redacted, Cold Case Detectives obtained an arrest warrant for Marlon Boyce. On October 20, 2014, Cold Case Detectives made arrangements with Deputy J. Corfetti of the Kenosha, Wisconsin, County Jail to conduct an interview with Marlon Boyce. Upon arrival at the Kenosha County Jail, detective was allowed to interview Marlon Boyce regarding the homicide of Devontae Childress, which occurred on July 6, 2011, at the location of 6101 South Normal. At this time, Detective Ortega introduced himself to Marlon Boyce and explained to him why this interview was being conducted. Marlon Boyce was read his Miranda rights. Marlon related that he understood each of his rights, Detective Ortega asked Marlon Boyce if he had any knowledge relative to the homicide of Devontae Childress. Marlon related that he did not know anything about the homicide of Devontae Childress. Detective Ortega asked Marlon if anyone would involve him in the homicide of Devontae Childress. Marlon stated that he owns multiple cars and has money out, and that's why a lot of people would involve him with anything that happened in the area. Marlon also told the detective that many people are jealous of what he has. Detective Ortega asked Marlon what type of cars did he own in the year of 2011. Marlon informed detectives he had a Cadillac, a Regal, a van, and several other cars that are not running at this time. Detective Ortega asked Marlon what color the Cadillac and if he still owned it. Marlon stated the Cadillac was brown gold in color and he did not possess it anymore because when he was arrested in Indiana for a theft, the police impounded the Cadillac and he never got it back. Marlon told Detective Ortega that he would have no reason to shoot the victim because he was cool with him. He also related that the victim was a shorty, young gang member, and he was an older gangster. Detective asked Marlon if he was well known in that area. Marlon related everybody knew him in that area and they were all jealous of him making money. Marlon thinks this is the reason people say he was involved in the fatal shooting of Devontae Childress. Detective then asked Marlon if he knew Antoine Reynolds. Marlon stated that he did indeed know Antoine Reynolds because he had a baby with Reynolds' sister. At this time, Marlon told the Detective Ortega to give him his business card and he was going to talk to his family to see if it was okay with his family to talk to the police regarding the facts relative to the homicide of Devontae Childress. Marlon also stated that he was afraid to talk to the police because his family still lived in Inglewood area. Detective Ortega gave Marlon his business card and asked him to please call him back regarding this incident. This interview was terminated at this time. On November 5th, 2014, Detective Ortega and Sergeant Pellegrini traveled to Kenosha, Wisconsin with an arrest warrant to extradite Marlon Boyce for the murder of Devontae Childress, which occurred on July 6, 2011 at the location of 6101 South Normal Avenue, Cook County, Chicago. Once at the area South Detective Division, Marlon Boyce was read each of his Miranda rights. Marlon Boyce related he understood each of his rights. Detective Ortega reminded Marlon that they had spoken with him in Kenosha County, Wisconsin County Jail regarding this case relative to the homicide of Devontae Childress. It should be noted that Marlon Boyce was incarcerated in Kenosha, Wisconsin County Jail for an unrelated case. Cold Case Detective Ortega asked Marlon what he knew relative to the homicide of Devontae Childress that occurred on July 6, 2011. Marlon related there was a shootout that day, but he wasn't outside when it happened. Marlon stated he heard gunshots from different guns. He also related he was in his mother's house, a redacted. Detectives asked Marlon how far he from 61st and Normal Street when he heard the shooting start. Marlon told the detectives it was about a quarter of a block. Marlon informed detectives that it was probably between the BDs and the GDs. Detectives informed Marlon they had information that his brother's van and his Buick Regal were vandalized by some individuals who lived on the 61st and Normal Street block. Marlon related he did not own the van because he gave it to his brother and the Buick Regal was in someone else's name. Marlon admitted to owning a brown light Cadillac. Marlon related he was a Black Disciple gang member. Detective Ortega confronted Marlon and told him that 5 separate individuals related in grand jury statements that they saw him and Antoine Reynolds in the gold light Cadillac on the date of July 6, 2011. Marlon asked the detectives if he was charged with this case at this time. Detective Ortega told him that he was not charged yet. Detectives continued to ask Marlon why 5 separate individuals identified him as being the driver of the goldish Cadillac responsible for being involved in the shooting. Marlon continued to deny any involvement with this case. Marlon stated he was half a block away in his yard and was now on the street where Tay, nickname for the victim, was shot. He related he was with his dogs and his kids during this time. Detectives informed Marlon that Antonio Reynolds stated he was not happy with Marlon because his sister was shot because of him shooting that boy Devontae Childress. Martin stated that he and Reynolds' sister are not dealing with each other anymore and that she knew who shot her when the incident occurred. Marlon stated all that everyone is saying about him is not true because he was in his backyard with his effing dogs. Cold Case detectives asked Marlon if he was there when the police arrived on the scene of the shooting. Marlon stated, "Hell no. Someone down the street who was crying told him that Tay got shot." Detectives asked Marlon if he left to Indiana after the shooting occurred. Marlon said he went to East Chicago, Indiana, because he has 2 females in Chicago and 2 females in Indiana. Detectives asked Marlon why he was not telling the truth about him being there at the time the shooting occurred. Detectives informed Marlon that he was being given a chance to finally tell the truth and he should consider it because the 5 people who identify him as being on the scene shooting a gun make this a good case against him. Marlon asked if he was being charged in this case. Detectives informed him that he was not charged with anything at this time. On Thursday, November 6, 2014, cold case detectives re-entered the interview room with Marlon Boyce. Marlon Boyce was read his Miranda rights and stated he understood each of his rights that were read to him. Detectives informed Marlon that they were going to talk again regarding the shooting of Tay, Devontae Childress. Detectives mentioned to Marlon that he has been locked up in Illinois, Wisconsin, and Indiana for different crimes. Due to the past numerous arrests of Marlon Boyce in multiple states, cold case detectives asked Marlon to concentrate and tell the detectives what he was doing back on July 6, 2011. Marlon stated that he went to court that day and he got back from court. His baby mamas had dropped off his daughter at his house. He played with her for a while and then she was picked up later that day. A short time later, his niece and nephew came home and he was playing with them and the dogs in the backyard. Marlon also stated his mother had just got home because she usually gets off work around 4 or 5 p.m. Marlon related that he did not know what time most things he didn't know what time most things occurred that day, but he did remember being in the backyard. Marlon related that his brother, his niece, nephew, and his daughter, and he lived in a 2-flat apartment building. Detectives asked Marlon what happened at 5 p.m. in the afternoon on July 6, 2011. Detectives also asked him what he remembered. Marlon replied, "I don't know S." Detective asked Marlon to take his time. Marlon related he thought someone came to the front of his house to get some weed, buy cannabis. Detectives asked Marlon what he did the rest of that night. Marlon told the detectives he went to his baby mama's house, which is on 56th Street, Shields Avenue. Detectives asked Marlon if that was by Antoine Reynolds' house. Marlon replied, yes. Marlon stated that he went to his baby mama's house between 5 and 9 p.m. Detectives told Marlon that he was arrested with a gun before, so he would be able to distinguish between a 9mm, AK-47, 45 caliber, and a 22 caliber gun. Marlon told the detectives that he would be able to tell the difference between all those guns. Cold case detectives reminded Marlon that the homicide occurred at approximately 6:22 p.m. and that he stated earlier he was at home when he heard the shots being fired and also spoke to his female neighbor next door. Marlon told detectives he went to Antoine Reynolds' house at 9 p.m. Marlon related Reynolds doesn't live there anymore, that he lives on 87th and Cottage Grove Ave by Nike Town. Detectives asked Marlon